My name is Billy Harfosh, broadcasting today from Dave Pratt's Star Worldwide Networks, and dare I say, I have one of the most controversial, and I mean that in the nicest of ways, Sheriff, one of the most controversial figures in America, and I cannot wait for this conversation. Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Sheriff, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm going to get the microphone right there. We want to hear everything you got to say today. So when I announced this interview on social media, I got an array of different responses from people that, quite frankly, they were upset. Why are you having the sheriff on? To people that were huge, strong, ardent supporters of Sheriff Joe, to people who said, you know what, Billy, you're all about freedom of speech. I think you should talk to the man. I think we should hear right from him. So I'm excited for this conversation, and in preparation, I think of a quote that I often go back to. It's a quote by Theodore Roosevelt. And Rob, our producer in the back, he's going to pull this up on the screen. You'll be able to see the quote right there, Sheriff. And I want to read this. I want to get your reaction. It's called "The Man in the Arena." It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. So my question to you, Sheriff, is, for decades, you were in the arena and you continue to be. What is the perception of your career as Sheriff Joe versus what the reality was?
Well, first of all, I don't know where you were receiving your intelligence about how bad I am. Must have been on Van Buren Street. But I'm very popular out there because everybody wants my endorsement. Now, I'm going to set the record straight right now before we get to Donald Trump. I was with him day one. I introduced him in July 2015. First rally, Phoenix. Nobody would get on the stage. I got on there. I didn't even know the guy. I knew a hotel named after him. I said three things. One, we're born on the same day, Flag Day. That there's a solid majority out there. 10,000 people start cheering. And then I looked him in the eye, and I said, you're going to be our next president. I guess I was right at that time. Now, I've gone public constantly. By the way, I'm known around the universe, not just the United States. Look it up. Not bragging. And the one reason I'm going to segue, I'm well known because I tell everybody, including you, I don't like a love affair, except when Donald Trump kissed me. That's a different thing. Don't give me this nice softballs. And I had the New York Times here recently. I had the Washington Post. And they looked at me and said, you're strange. Okay, I'm strange. They said, how come you don't care about negative publicity? I said, I hate negative publicity. No, I really love negative. I switched that. You know why? You or any other media, every time they badmouth me, my polls go up.
Well, that's a good thing.
So don't tell me nice things. You got to badmouth me.
Well, we can badmouth all you want, and this is not a love affair today. What this is, Sheriff, is, to me, it's just a real conversation, open and honest conversation. And I just want to,
okay.
I want to get to know the man, and I want the audience to get to see the man. And I'll go back to my opening, my original question. The perception of who you are, the persona of Sheriff Joe internationally versus what it was really like to be in the arena, the day-to-day job as sheriff. Is there a difference there, perception versus the reality of what you actually did?
Well, let me be honest with you.
Please.
Oh, by the way, Paula's a nice friend of mine, and you got Elizabeth and my choice for sheriff, which is Frank Milstead. So I do have people that right now I'm working hard for, including Trump. I can go on and on. But I'm starting to think, if I'm so bad, why is everybody kissing my ring for endorsements? They're pretty stupid to do that. No. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I was a cop, bureaucrat. I had to report to someone, the police chief in D.C. I was a cop in Vegas. Once again, I had a boss. I joined the Army. Korean War broke out. I had a boss. The Federal Drug Enforcement, DEA, big part of my life, 28 years. But I had a boss. And when I was 61, I decided to run for sheriff. And I made a critical mistake. I will never forget the mistake I made during that campaign, even though I won. I said the sheriff should be appointed and not elected. I must have been drunk on Italian olive oil. I would have been fired the first day or second day in office if I had a report to some governor, president, you name it. I report to the people, and I learned that lesson because if I wasn't elected, they'd go after me, fire me. There'll be no tent city, no pink underwear, no nothing. I'm very strong that the elected sheriff should understand, quit playing politics. You might want to get more money from the Board of Supervisors, and I can go on, and do the job. And don't be afraid to take a chance. I like risk. When I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I know it's controversial. I grew into the job in the public relations. It didn't take me long. Now, when I was head of the DEA in Turkey, I had a lot of publicity, but I had to be careful what I said. If I said the wrong thing, Washington will send me back to Turkey. So I learned almost from the start. Now, I have relatives in the news business. I have one that works for the Arizona Republic, very nice guy. I'm not going to mention his name. And I go way back. My father came from Italy, and my father had Italian grocery stores, but my grandfather had a newspaper. I used to go into the big building, smell all the ink, whatever you call it. I didn't get high on it, but I had a little taste right away about the media. And I grew into it, even when I was a cop, locked up Elvis, and I didn't get any media because it wasn't stupid. I kind of let that slide. So I grew into it, and it didn't take me long. It didn't take me long to know how to handle the media.
Do you feel like the media, the current landscape today, what we're seeing, the coverage of Donald Trump, we've seen the coverage right now, Sheriff, of, quite frankly, Joe Biden. I'm going to ask you about that debate. Do you feel like you could have done what you did as sheriff in modern day media? Do you feel like you would have been able to build the tent city? Do you feel like some of your stronger policies would have been able to be enforced, or would the media have even hit you harder?
No, I've been doing that. Of course, the guy that beat me said, okay, and he took everything away, my predecessor. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do that. He wiped out everything. But I don't criticize him. That's his problem. I do know when my wife passed away, and I've been married 63 years, and I'll tell you, there's no one in this country that doesn't like my wife. So I always say, they may not like me, but they sure loved Ava.
They loved Ava, and you mentioned your wife, and you've mentioned Donald Trump, and Rob, our producer back there, our magical engineer, the wizard. I'd like you to put up a photo, and I'd like you to look right there at that screen, Sheriff Joe. That photo right there on that screen.
Was that Hawaii?
Right there on that screen. You see that screen? No, the screen right under the camera. Right there. Okay. And what I want you to do, Sheriff, is you mentioned your wife. You mentioned Donald Trump. I was covering the Trump campaign at this event, a few weeks back. And Donald Trump didn't know that you were in the house. Donald Trump mentioned Sheriff Joe, and he said, "Is Sheriff Joe here?" And everybody started pointing to you. You had a good seat, better seat than me back there with the media. And he called you up on stage, and you said a few words, and you told a story. And you told a story that I think that is a bipartisan story. It's a story about the love of your wife, and when she was going through what she was going through, this man called your wife not once, not twice, but 7 times. And you told the audience that day that this is your one and only hero.
In my life, there's a difference. How many politicians do you know that want his endorsement or he gives has ever called Donald Trump a hero? Maybe one politician. Can you name one?
I can't.
Huh?
I cannot.
If you did, I'm still gonna beat you, because he's the only hero I ever had in my lifetime. And I stick by that. I've said it, and I will never do anything to harm that man. He has a heart. He's called my wife and communicated with my wife several times. In fact, when he has, right now he has a couple rallies going locally. I was there. He's always mentioned my wife. I take that very humble. He does that, and he's getting blamed by all these hookers and all this garbage. How he doesn't get along. No,
the porn stars and stuff, you mean?
Yeah, it's all garbage. You understand? And so they go after him on the now they got the guy that committed suicide, Einstein, whatever the guy's name. They're going
Jeffrey
after
Epstein.
Trump on that one.
Yeah.
I wonder how he died in a jail. That's another question.
Well, okay, so I wanted to show that moment with you and the president, and actually it made national news because President Trump, and don't worry, I won't be doing this today, Sheriff, but President Trump kissed you. He kissed you on stage. And he says, "I don't kiss other men, but I kiss Sheriff Joe." I mean, was that like that? I know you know the president. I know you've been friends with him and you've supported him. But that must have been a little bit shocking.
Well, yeah, because nobody kisses me anyway. They think I'm too old. But he didn't have a problem with it. So I had to get a kiss from the president. Hey,
listen.
I'm very honored to do that. He's my guy. He has a heart. And by the way, any other politician was on the stage with Donald Trump. "Oh, you're great, Donald Trump. I believe in your border things, blah, blah, blah. Talk. I didn't mention politics. Purposely, I didn't talk about anything. I talked about him and what he's done for my family. And also when John McCain, before he passed, NBC came to see me and said, "Who is your hero?" And I paused, and this is the truth. I didn't know who my hero was 4 months previously. When they asked me that question, I said Donald Trump, and they didn't know how to answer that. And I went one step further. I said, he's my hero, the only one I've had in my lifetime. Well, so that's what I said about him.
That's remarkable, and I saw it, and I saw your emotion on that stage when you gave a speech right next to President Trump. You mentioned age, and we talk about age right now in American politics. You open any newspaper across the country, you turn on any major network, and they're talking about Joe Biden's age. He would be 86 years old in the second term. I wanted to wish you a happy belated birthday. As somebody running for mayor of Fountain Hills, you just turned 92 years old. That's public knowledge.
92.
92, correct. So how do you're here on the show. I contacted your people to come on. You showed up. There were no topics off limit. You're here talking to me, answering questions. How do you look at age and politics? Should these politicians be taking cognitive tests? How do you look at the current president?
It's disgusting. I don't make fun of Biden when he walks a little strange or something. By the way, I'll be talking about Biden very soon. I can't tell you right now. Now, everything's off limits?
Everything is on the
okay.
table. No, nothing is off limits.
Okay. Now, when I was on a stage, you didn't catch it. When he said, you always look like you're 73, and I said, do you want to see my birth certificate? Now, everybody caught on. Oh, Obama's birth certificate. I was really joking with him about my birth certificate. I went after Obama. He's guilty. That document is the fakest document you can ever see. And nobody will talk about that. On the Republicans and on the Democrats, why are they shying away from this? I'm not asking you. It's not my show.
I think they're focused on Biden now. I mean, they're focused on his age. They're focused on whether or not he should be running as president.
Okay, so they're focused. Okay.
What do you have to say about Biden? You said you'll have something to share about Joe Biden. I mean, we're laying it all out here.
I'm not going to tell you now.
I
hate to tell you.
Do you have something?
I just say, stay tuned next week.
Will you be having a press conference? Will you be doing a show? Or?
You think I'm stupid? I do this without the media?
I'm just asking questions.
Huh?
I'm just asking
I'm
questions.
not going to do it secretly. Nothing's secret with me.
Okay. Well, we'll stay tuned next week. Will this be a bombshell information? Is it something do you know President Biden? Have you met him?
Of course I know him. I testified before him when I left the federal drug enforcement.
What's your take on Joe Biden?
At that time, he was great. I mean, he was tough on crime. That was in the early 80s. Things have changed. Now, in 2009, Obama and Biden put me on their first 100-day list. You know, they take, 100 days, we're going to do this. I was a target. Badge of honor.
Well, listen, Sheriff, we can go on and on and on, but I do want to get to the audience. The audience sent us in some questions, so I'm going to ask you a couple questions, a couple kind of fun ones. They want to know, number one, the whole pink underwear story. Now, you got something pink over there. I'm not sure what it is, but you pull it out. Let's see. The whole pink underwear story, this is now...
Can you hear it?
I can't smell it. Now,
I'm smelling it for a reason.
Why?
Huh?
Why?
Well, first of all, let's get to the underwear.
That's
See,
where
I'm
I
elected.
go.
You think if I did this, I had a report to some chief of police, or would it have underwear?
I don't think they would have allowed it, quite frankly.
So I'll give you the official reason.
Please.
Now I'll give you my reason.
Please.
Official reason is they were stealing the white underwear, the inmates, and selling that. That's government property. So I said, it's easier to detect pink than white. That's the official reason. You know, my other reason? They hate pink. Why would you give them a color that they like? That's the truth.
No, that makes sense.
Now, once I went public with this, we sold thousands and millions of pairs to raise money for the good causes, and I'm still doing it to raise money for cops thrown under the bus. Every penny of this goes to help the cops.
Can I see the underwear?
Don't smell it.
I won't smell it.
The reason I say that.
Oh, God. He's not joking. What the hell's going on over here? Jeez,
So
Sheriff.
I don't know. That came from Pakistan. That's why I'm not joking about
Here, hold this up for me. So, are these for sale right now? Yes.
I'm not
Joe,
of course they're for
Joe's
sale.
pinkshorts.com.
Sure if not.
Okay. So really, the inmates were selling the underwear, and you didn't want them to sell white underwear, and you said they hate pink, so we're going to go to that.
Doing the white.
All right, next question. Is it true that the sheriff had a tank? Now, I don't know this story. Did you have a tank?
Yeah, I had a tank.
What the
with
hell?
a 50 caliber machine gun on it.
Okay, let's go back for a second. Why did you have a tank, Sheriff?
Well, first of all, I got it for nothing.
Okay, that's a good
Number
reason.
two, on it, they fight, stop smuggling drugs, lock up illegals on the tank. Everybody said, why do you need a tank? Now, I'm very careful about Mexico. I was a director there in Mexico. I can go down I have a Mexican grandkid.
DEA, the whole thing, I understand.
I can't tell you the battles on that, or I can tell you. But what do you need a tank for? It's not to shoot everybody coming at the media. He wants to shoot everybody coming across. Oh, no. No, that tank can go shoot by a mile. So if you got any terrorists coming in, you're going to have to face a tank, enough firepower. Since they're not sending the military down there. Now, I had 4 stars, like a general. I should have had 5 stars. So I'm kind of, I got tents that look like, tents, military. I can go on
tank, military.
Tank, military.
Okay. Somebody wanted to know, and I don't know if you're comfortable with this question, so we can just say next question. That's fine. But they say the sheriff knows Pamela Anderson. Is that true? Pamela Anderson, obviously of Baywatch, one of the most beautiful women in American history. I love Pamela. So what's your background?
What do you mean you're afraid to talk about her?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if you did.
Why is she afraid? Whoever called you?
Well, I don't know.
She's jealous because they couldn't meet her?
Maybe. How do you know Pamela Anderson? I'll ask you quite frankly.
I'll tell you how I know her.
Go ahead.
And by the way, every celebrity, I don't know if you fit the category, but every celebrity that I have pictures of, from Gary Cooper on down, all the way, I always put it out. I always wish them a happy birthday. That's where your caller saw me with Pamela.
So what was she
jail.
like? Oh, she was in jail?
No, she helped me in jail because I switched from green bologna, it's really not green, but meat, to vegetarian. And she's a big vegetarian. I said to her, would you join me to launch my new menu? Oh, I'll be glad to do it. So she flies down. I have her in the jail. All the media is there, and we're scooping up the new menu, vegetarian. So everybody, we put out 15,000 meals a month, had to do vegetarian.
Wow. I bet you
the only problem I got, since I'm a publicity hound, she got more press than I did. Of course, I'm not as young as she is. So,
well, listen. I don't know if you have that. We don't have the picture, but by the way, not to get weird, it's just 2 men talking here. That was peak Pamela Anderson. I mean, when you were with her in the jail serving the food, I saw the picture. Peak Pamela Anderson. Yeah, I see Kevin back there and everyone shaking their head. Yeah, she was beautiful. They want to ask the sheriff about The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. Did you collaborate with The Rock or something on a movie? One of our people wanted to know about that. Do you know The Rock?
Of course I know.
So did you
work? I think, didn't he do The Last Walking Tall?
I'm not sure what he did, but they said that Sheriff Joe knows The Rock.
Of course I know The Rock.
Joe knows The Rock.
I spent 3 days with him.
I think The Rock might run for president one day.
Well, I don't think he's a Trump guy.
I don't think so either, but he might run for president.
He ain't going to get my vote.
So here's the last question from our audience, and this is not really a Pamela Anderson Rock question. This one's a little more serious. I want to ask the sheriff, does he feel we should have kept Tent City, and if so, should we bring it back?
It's never coming back. All these people are running for sheriff. They don't even want to talk about it. I put the Tent City up when I ran for office. 1992. I made a promise. I'm going to put tents up, Korean War tents. And really, it wasn't. They said, you're a genius. You're going to, you're going to have a jail overcrowding problem, so you're putting up tents. I didn't do it for that. I put tents up because our men and women lived in tents fighting for their country. And I did it for, I think, $100,000. I got the tents free from New Mexico, had them put up. And they were there for 24 years. So it was a great program. And to this day, people come up to me, not only parents, but even the people who are in the tents, and they thank me for what I've done. We had great drug prevention to go along with it. I've had some nice people in the jail. I had Charles Barkley, Mike Tyson, all friends. I had friends that I had put in pink underwear. I'm talking about celebrities.
Charles in pink underwear.
Well, hey, that's okay.
So, and I do know that there was a lot of follow-up on drug rehabilitation. There's a lot of follow-up on education. There was a lot of follow-up on integrating some of your inmates back into society. That's often left out of your career, of your story. And I do know that because I've done a lot of reading and I've talked to a lot of people around you. What about the heat, though? I got to ask about the heat. Whenever I bring up like Tent City, people say, "Well, ask the sheriff." I mean, we're in Arizona; it's hot as hell here.
Well,
what about the heat, Joe?
yeah. See, I have a problem. I don't lie. I mean, we're going to argue about 5 degrees because it's usually 110, 115. And when the media can't believe it, I take a thermometer, I put it right up on top of the canvas, and I gain 5 more degrees. So it's 120
But that's
degrees.
hot, Joe. That's hot.
I had swamp coolers. Did them a favor. They ruined the swamp coolers. Okay, then they have fans now. But they have a chance to get out and go into a building and take a shower. I don't want to ruin my reputation. It wasn't as bad, maybe. But you know how I get by with it? I say one thing. Our men and women are fighting for our country, and they're living in tents, so shut your mouth. And National, Amnesty International, everybody's after me. But I never had a problem. I've had 500,000 people come through those tents. I have other jails. 500,000. I recall we never lost anybody that died in those tents. Now I do use some of them for the chain gang. And, you know, I'm an equal opportunity guy. I don't discriminate. So I put the women on the chain gang. And I don't put them in the desert chopping rocks. I put them on highways and streets where everybody can see them. So being an equal opportunity, I got the only female chain gang in history. Why do I do that? Number one, unfortunately, when people die in the county, they don't know who they are, drug overdose, alcoholism. No one goes there to say prayers. My chain gang goes to the cemetery, helps bury the deceased, and they pray. And they pray, and they learn a lesson. Wow, don't do drugs. I might end up in this grave. So I have a method to all my madness. Always going to explain it. Now, I put juveniles on a chain gang. Everybody forgets that. But juveniles on a chain gang? Yeah, I did that. I thought I'd be blown out of the water. I got more press on the females than I did the juveniles.
Joe, you've been, we started with the Theodore Roosevelt quote, in the arena, man in the arena. You've been doing this for a long time, whether it's DEA, whether it's sheriff, whether it's now you're running for mayor of Fountain Hills. You're now 92 years old. Why are you still doing it? Why are you still here? Why don't you go sit on your patio and make yourself a little cocktail and relax? Why still come in to have to talk to guys like me and run for mayor and all this stuff? Where's the fire in your belly? Where is that coming from now at 92?
There's plenty of fire in the belly, and I resent my opponents or my so-called people that always endorse me. They forgot my name. I'm not going to get into politics, although I will get into the sheriff's race because Jerry Sheridan was my chief deputy. And he seemed to have gone south on me, especially on the illegal immigration. But that's not why I'm endorsing Frank Milstead. I'm endorsing him. I have never endorsed anyone running for the sheriff's office. He's the first one because I know he can do a great job, and he has some courage and honesty and loyalty. I can't say that for other sheriffs. So I'm supporting him. He's going to be a great sheriff. And I knew his father. I worked when his father was a DPS director, Ralph. And they did me a lot of favors when I was head of the DEA and all that. And Frank said, I've done him a favor. I gave him $500,000.
That's nice.
$500,000, not to him, but he gave it to the sheriffs for the strike force to protect the border. So I don't forget when people do me favors. But I'm doing it for him because it's time for him to be the sheriff. I know all the other candidates, they worked for me. Sheridan was my chief deputy. Unfortunately, he forgot loyalty because he was on a program, and he's been avoiding me for 3 years. Didn't want to be connected with illegal immigration. And then he did something Milstead would never do. he turned on me and he said, I told the sheriff you should not do this. Don't do it. And he didn't have to say that. He didn't. And then when he's testifying before the judge, when I was on trial for a misdemeanor, he says, I wish I never took this job. Oh, well, if I won, he wouldn't be the chief deputy. I guarantee you.
It sounds like there's a lot of inside baseball, some backstabbing, and it sounds like you, Sheriff Joe, are here to say that loyalty is number one. Loyalty is very important to you, and I understand that. Listen, you've came in, you've answered all the questions. I'm going to tell you, Sheriff, I'm going to get, I'll speak to the camera, I'm going to get a lot of criticism here today for having you on the show. And if that pisses you off, that's fine. But I wanted you to come on because I wanted to know the man. I wanted my audience to hear some stories about the man. And I wanted to give you a chance to speak to a different type of audience that has one perception of you, of your career, but I wanted to hear it from the horse's mouth. And I wanted to know who you are and what you thought about your career and what you're going to be doing moving forward. So I appreciate you coming in here again with no question of what I could bring up, what I couldn't bring up. You're an open book. Speaking of book, can I see your book over there? I want to have you sign it for me.
The author just died. Yes, 2 days ago.
You're right here.
You don't die, huh?
The author didn't die. You're right, sitting right here.
Yeah, he did my book.
That's a joke. I'm making jokes, Sheriff. This guy. So, Mr. Rest in Peace, David Thomas Roberts. But there it is. Sheriff Joe, an American legend. This is the book, and I'm assuming people will put all your stuff out there. By the way, people can order this. By the way, this is forwarded by Ted Nugent.
Yeah, my buddy, another buddy. And the other buddy that I've taken a lot of heat on is a movie actor.
Oh.
Seagal.
Seagal? Well, Seagal.
He was a member of my posse with his machine gun and everything. He was on a tank when I raided a place.
I think the reason that people get on Seagal, and correct me if I'm wrong, of course, I think it's the whole Russia thing, that he's like friendly with Putin. Now, I don't know how you feel about that, but
he knows Putin. So my hero knew Putin too. And I loved it when Trump would go in the back room and talk with Putin. That's how you get problems solved. You shut the door, have a little whatever whiskey, and you make deals for the good of our country. And they badmouth him every time he used to go in there. Those are the politicians. Wouldn't even know where Russia is, most of them.
Well, one thing is true. We have an election coming up, and we have one man that by the time this interview airs might not even be running anymore. We have another man, Donald Trump, that has a lot of strong support. And we'll see where it goes from here. And may the best candidate win. I want to ask you to autograph that book for me, if you would. And in the meantime, while the sheriff does that, I wanted to let everybody know that this week, Saturday and Sunday, Sheriff, you're welcome to come down. Glendale, Arizona, will be at the Renaissance Hotel in Glendale, right next to State Farm Stadium. Is that right, Em? And the shirts are out. This is the new clothing line. One Life shirt. Sheriff, you got one life to live. We're doing it right now in this moment. One chance at this life. So these are the new shirts. I'm going to show you the black and white one as well. I don't have pink underwear, but I do have shirts, ladies and gentlemen. And they're going to be available for purchase. So you can go on my Instagram. It's at Billy Harfosh. Check that out there. A lot of you guys have been asking about the new clothing line, so we're going to have that ramped up in the coming days. Sheriff, I must say, I did not know where this conversation was going to go, and I'm just really appreciative for you coming in and sharing some of your stories. Are you going to be the next mayor of Fountain Hills?
Well, I hope to, but I'll tell you one thing. I'm working hard at it. Small town, small cliques, you know how that works.
Yeah.
But my main mission is to make sure that Trump gets reelected. That's what I've been doing, too. That's number one. Of course, I do. I lost mayor by 200 votes. It's only a 2-year term. So I'm here to win. I got the Italian blood in me. Never surrender. And the more they go after me, the more I fight back. And I'm telling you again, one of the big fights is the sheriff. Who's going to be the sheriff? And that's going to be Frank Milstead. And the guy that was my chief deputy for years may not like it, but that's tough. So that's what I'm doing.
I think we can sum it up with tough. There he is. Sheriff Joe Arpaio. My name is Billy Harfash. What an interesting conversation that was. Thanks again for coming in. Broadcasting from Dave Pratt's Star Worldwide Networks right here in Phoenix, Arizona. We're live right now on Instagram. Keep that going, Melissa. Keep the Instagram live going. Sheriff, this was great. I appreciate you.
And maybe, I love your guy, Pratt.
Dave Pratt.
Great guy.
You know Dave Pratt?
Very well.
Well, this is his studio right here.
I know. I've been here many times.
Okay. Well, Dave, the sheriff shouts you out. Very nice. We'll see y'all later. Bye-bye. Go follow me at Billy Harfash on Instagram. And if you're tuning in right now, we'll have the shirts on Instagram at Billy Harfash. Bye-bye.